I have a weird love-hate relationship with films that have overt themes of environmentalism and films that push a vegan agenda. For whatever reason, it comes across to me as ham-fisted propaganda way more often than other political subtext typically does. Even as someone who often agrees 100% with the message of these films, I end up resenting being preached to, and it takes me right out of the movie. Like, it usually ends up reminding me of Fern Gully or of Captain Planet. I haven't seen either of those as an adult, but I feel like if I did, I'd reject them as sanctimonious much more quickly than I did as a doe-eyed little kid. The same way I now view anything PETA does with disdain and revulsion. I was 17 when I saw WALL-E, and the way that film handles this stuff thematically ruined the experience for me. Even in high school, I thought it was condescending and stupid. Like, here's the possibility of a beautiful, moving film with so much subtlety, and Pixar sledgehammers all that with Americans are fat and Walmart is evil. You can critique capitalism and explore all of the reasons that Americans weigh more than people in other countries, but bludgeoning a young audience with a simplistic condemnation of these complex and deeply ingrained facets of American culture isn't a good way to do it, and it wasn't something I appreciated. I had known about Okja for a while, and I was excited to see it. When I saw more and more reactions talking about it being a movie with a vegan agenda, that little red light went off in the back of my brain though. The difference here is that Bong Joon-ho is a director of immense intelligence with a sharp wit, and I've always found his films engaging and insightful. So I kept an open mind, and I can't say that I was disappointed. One director who I feel handles environmentalism as a theme in a beautiful, powerful way is Hayao Miyazaki, especially in something like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which is otherworldly and haunting rather than simplistic and judgmental. He and Bong Joon-ho are very different filmmakers, so I didn't expect to be reminded of his work while watching Okja, but I was, and I was almost immediately. I owned a VHS copy of The Fox Dub of My Neighbor Totoro as a really little kid, and that film's images are so deeply ingrained in my brain that Okja recalled them right away. After watching the film, I found out that Bong Joon-ho cites Miyazaki as a direct influence on it, and that didn't surprise me at all. Miyazaki certainly doesn't shy away from dark or adult themes, but Bong Joon-ho grabs you by the back of your neck and shoves you right into them whether you're prepared for them or not. All of his films that I have seen are brutal, especially in their social critique. I appreciate unflinching honesty, and I vastly prefer it to saccharine condescension, and on that level, Okja absolutely delivers. I am a huge pacifist and animal lover. I don't even like killing bugs. When I was a little kid, I wrote 2 letters to 2 different presidents about endangered animals and included little printed off and cut out images of the animals I was concerned about. I'm not vegan, but I've been pescatarian for 4 or 5 years, as in I eat seafood and eggs and dairy, but absolutely no beef, pork, or chicken in my meals, with very, very rare exceptions. Despite not caring if other people eat meat and never lecturing people on this as someone in the southern US, I get teased about it a lot. I come from a long line of heart attacks and diabetes and a rainbow spectrum of cancers and other health concerns, some of which have killed or nearly killed people that I love, and that played as big of a part in my food choices as environmental or ethical concerns, so I do resent the teasing a little, but I got used to it and I understand it. Meat is a big part of my culture and of a lot of cultures, and me rejecting the practice of eating it puts people on the defensive. The reasons people eat pork or any other kind of meat are really, really complicated, and as Okja also briefly touches on, it's not like eating just produce totally absolves you of being a part of a massive chain of pain and exploitation of both people and animals. So I don't judge anyone for what they eat, even if, for me personally, the practice of slaughtering intelligent animals is kind of horrific. Though I guess valuing a living thing's life based on how intelligent it is its own shade of horrific, in a way, which is where I think making Okja much more intelligent than an average pig kind of is a strike against the film. The conclusion I came to in my own search was that I wouldn't want to eat anything I wouldn't be willing to kill with my own 2 hands, and I want to at least try not to eat anything with a personality. I would not hesitate to kill a pig if I was starving to death, but there are a lot of things I'd do to survive if I was starving to death, and none of them come up for me day to day at the grocery store. I say all that to say I really love how Okja approaches the quote-unquote problem of eating animals. Some parts of it are a little silly, but I never once felt like it preached to me. It did, however, offer a shocking and brutal portrayal, with some scenes landing like gut punches, and with the majority of the critique leveled at exploitative producers and at capitalism in general, rather than at people who eat meat to survive. I talk in my Hannibal essay about how Hannibal is a show with an animal-loving agenda that expresses that agenda by making food that is gorgeous and appealing on an aesthetic and instinctual level disgusting and grotesque. Okja gets past defenses and hits deep in a similar way, though on an emotional level rather than an aesthetic one. I even know at least a couple of people who reconsidered eating meat after watching it, which is pretty cool, and I think anyone could appreciate a film capable of that much of an emotional impact on a rational adult, even if you personally see no problem with eating meat, especially in contrast to films that are more saccharine and manipulative rather than visceral and honest. Where Okja differs the most from a Miyazaki film is in its tone. Bong Joon-ho is known for rapid tonal shifts and juxtapositions. His page on KoreanFilm.org ends with, "His films are filled with often black humor and sudden mood shifts, making for an emotional roller coaster ride." The fact that he is able to combine all of these contrasting elements into such a smooth whole is Bong's particular strength as a filmmaker. I've seen Snowpiercer, Memories of Murder, and The Host, and while it doesn't describe everything that's great about his films, that's definitely an accurate assessment of him as a filmmaker. I think the risk in rapid tonal oscillation, though, is that if you don't balance the swings well enough, you get too far off and you lose people. I loved how Snowpiercer especially mixed bizarre comedy and imaginative over-the-top visuals with shocking violence and heavy social critique. Okja has some moments that are shocking, some that are affecting, and some that are really, really funny, but despite having a ton of highs, they're in all different directions, and it doesn't handle the balancing act quite as well. For example, An Seo-hyun's character is straightforward and relatable, Paul Dano's character has a kind of almost whimsy to him, and Jake Gyllenhaal's character is a shrill caricature, almost as if they all came from different films, Gyllenhaal especially. In the end, it's similar to Baby Driver in that I enjoyed it and would recommend it and retain my immense respect for its director, but at the same time, I feel like it didn't quite reach the bar set by his previous films. Okja is dead on in its critique, but it lacks cohesion, and some of its shifts and scene transitions are disorienting or feel arbitrary or poorly structured in a way Bong's other films never do. You should still watch it though, and it's one of a very, very small number of films where I can say that your experience might vary a lot depending on whether or not you eat pork. Hey, thanks to Devin for help on the script and for getting me hyped for Okja before it came out. If you enjoyed this review and you have some extra money on hand, please consider donating to my Patreon. Check out my other movie review and check out my video essays. Thanks for watching!